Ah, the Olympics, a time when the world gathers together to watch some of the finest athletes compete for the beautiful gold medals. You know what else comes with those games every 2 years? Their mascots. The Olympic mascots have been a staple of the Olympic Games, well, at least since 1968, with some unofficial mascots dating a few years before that. What better way to celebrate the mascots by ranking them? It's the ultimate event. Before we begin, let's go over some ground rules. I'll be ranking every mascot as fairly as possible using these metrics: how cute or attractive the mascot is, how well it represents the Olympics and the host city, how well they look in the real world, and how much I like it. So, with all of that out of the way, let's get ranking. As I mentioned earlier, despite the Olympics officially recognizing the first mascot in 1968, there were a few mascots before that. Now, I'm not going to rank them, but here they are in chronological order. 1932 LA Summer Olympics. LA 1932 had what some consider the first ever Olympic mascot, and man, if this was recognized as a mascot, then Olympic mascots would be very different today. Just look at this! Smokey the dog was the only mascot to be an actual animal, and he was a great mascot at that. Just look at his jacket! 1964 Tokyo Summer Olympics. Tokyo 64 were an incredible Olympic Games, as they were the first games to include official pictograms for every event. But that's not why we're here. Meet Kappa. He's based on kappas from traditional Japanese folklore. Sadly, not really much of him exists besides some fins. 1968 Mexico City Summer Olympics. I will fully admit, I was very confused. You see, the first recognized mascot is Shoes for the 1968 Winter Olympics. Back in the day, the Winter and Summer Games happened in the same year. Not confusing at all. Anyways, this is Shakmul, the unofficial mascot. What's interesting about Shakmul is that the name Shakmul originates from a sculpture of the same name. Sadly, I'm not too sure about anything else, but it's neat that if this is true, the mascot has a very interesting background. 1972 Sapporo Winter Olympics. Japan just cannot make a bad mascot, it seems. Look at this guy. This is Taku-chan, an Asian black bear. He was actually designed by Seiko, one of the Olympic sponsors. And to be completely honest, that makes sense. Most of his existence is Seiko related. And that's it, I think. Smokey, Kappo, Shakmul, and Taku-chan are the only unofficial mascots on this list. And while they may not be getting a ranking today, they still deserve some recognition. Now, with them out of the way, let's start off with the worst mascot. 26. Nagano 1998. These are the snowlets, consisting of Suki, Noki, Leki, and Suki, each one representing a different element: earth, fire, water, and air, and the four of them also represent the 4 years between an Olympiad. That's a bit of a stretch. I get their symbolism and all, but what happened here? The fact that they're owls is cool, and according to the Olympics, owls are associated with the god Athena, but still, I'm really sorry if these are your favorites for me, but they just aren't very good mascots. 25th, Lillehammer, 1994. Meet the only mascots ever to be humans. There's a reason why they're the only ones. This is Hakon and Kristin, who refer to historical figures from the 13th century in Norway and Lillehammer region, those being Hakon IV, Håkonsson, King of Norway from 1217 to 1263, and Princess Kristin, his aunt. Again, super cool idea, but my god, are they creepy. You wanna know what's funny? I think they also realized this, because instead of creepy walk-around figures, they had actual children come out, with there being 8 different pairs of children, out of a pool of 10,000 candidates. Wow. Still doesn't change my mind. 24th, Torino, 2006. Yet another Winter Olympics blunder. Man, what is going on? This not-so-iconic duo is Neve and Gliese. Neve is a snowball, and Gliese is an ice cube. Wow, nice job there, Torino. They apparently represent the fundamental elements required for successful Winter Games and personify winter sports. But other than being slightly cute and marketable, these guys are a miss for me. Sorry. 23rd, London 2012. Finally, a Summer Olympics. You know, I have to try so hard to fight for London 2012. I feel like a lot of people say these games were a flop or their design was weird. And then they make this their mascot. This is Wenlock, who has a very interesting story. He was made from one of the last drops of steel used to build the London Olympic Stadium, as seen in the short film released on him and his Paralympic counterpart, Mandeville. These two were named after the towns of Much Wenlock and Stoke Mandeville. Their eyes are cameras, which is ironic because London's one of the most surveilled cities ever. The light on their head's supposed to replicate those on iconic black caps, and on his wrists he wears 5 Olympic rings, and the 3 points on his head represent the podium spots. What's even worse is that the other options for London 2012 weren't any better. We had a humanized pigeon, an animated teacup, and Big Ben with arms and legs. Good lord. 22nd, Albertville 1992. And we're back to the Winter Games. They really can't catch a break, huh? Meet Magique. I can see the vision with this one, but they just look like they want to be put out of their misery. According to the Olympic website, Magique was the first non-animal mascot since Innsbruck 1976, and their colors represent the French flag. Not much else to say, really. 21st, Atlanta 1996. Probably the worst American mascot on this list. Okay, can I just say something really quick? What is with these characters being dead inside? Izzy, also originally known as What Is It, was unanimously hated on. Like, Atlanta 1996, you were pretty decent games and all things considered, but then you bring in Izzy. At least you got your own TV special and a shitty NES/Sega Genesis game.
Practice for the Olympic Games basketball tryouts.
What? Izzy, Torch World citizens do not compete in the Olympic Games. Our job is to tend the Olympic flame, keeping the spirit of the game shining and bright.
20th, Sochi 2014. These are probably the most generic mascots ever. Wanna know how I can prove it? Look at their names. No, seriously, look. Their names are non-existent. They are just boring, and allegedly there was voting rigging going on to pick them. My favorite thing about these mascots is that a designer, who made a previous mascot that I'll eventually get to, called them out, saying they copied their mascot and, quote, made them fatter. 19th, Calgary 1988. Hey, do you hear that? That's my Canadian bias. It's non-existent. This is Heidi and Howdy, and oh my god, they are so Alberta core. Just look at those cowboy hats. And look at their bizarre and scary walk-around suits. Anyways, their names are supposed to represent the Calgary region's hospitality, naming them after Hi and Howdy. They were also the first mascot couple, Double Trouble. 18th, Montreal, 1976. Seriously, Canada? You're disproving my patriotism again? This is Amik, which means beaver in Algonquin, a large and widespread language amongst the indigenous people in Canada. And I really like that. It's just kind of bland for a mascot. I mean, it's a black beaver with a stripe. Not very mascotable, unfortunately. But I don't hate them, unlike Calgary's. 17th, Grenoble, 1968. Meet the first ever Olympic mascot. Slightly creepy, but also slightly iconic. What's funny is that they weren't recognized as mascots first, but after they gained traction, then the Olympics took them in. Funny. Shush is supposed to be a man in a skiing position, and yeah, there's just not much going for you here. Sorry. 16th, Innsbruck, 1976. This is Schneemandel. Schneemann is German for snowman, so that's cool, I guess. This thing is fine, it's just similar to Shush, where it's slightly creepy. They also have a signature red Tyrolean hat, which is common in the region, so it gets points for representation, I suppose. 15th, Athens, 2004. These fellows here are Phevos and Athena. Their names are from Phasos, another name for Apollo, who's the god of light and music, and Athena, who's the goddess of wisdom and protector of the city of Athens. Their designs are based off of a terracotta doll from the 7th century BC, specifically the Daedala. I don't really hate these guys. I think they're relatively cute, not too detailed, and their history represents the host city, and they're overall pretty harmless. Although apparently they're not that way to everyone. Many Greeks found them stereotypical and degrading. I just don't see it though. 14th, Barcelona, 1992. Yet another character with special pieces of media. This time, a whole ass animated series broadcasted in multiple different languages. Meet Kobe, a humanized Pyrenean dog, which is designed in a cubist style. I don't really see the art style in his design, but his design is pretty chill regardless. As I mentioned before, Kobe starred in his own 26th episode cartoon, which was called The Kobe Troop, following him and his friends. What's also interesting is that he got a very interesting live-action Israeli series, where he's seen doing these sports, getting his ass kicked, and then by watching the Olympics or something like that, he manages to get inspired and win. If only it was that easy. 13th, Munich, 1972. Okay, IOC, this one's just misinformation. They claim Waldy is the first official mascot ever, but we all know the real first one. Anyways, Waldy is a Dachshund, which is a very popular breed of dog in Bavaria. Overall, I like his wild color palette and his design, but I think it falls a little bit flat on the mascot side of things. Fun facts about his Olympic Games: apparently, the marathon route in Munich was drawn out to look exactly like Waldy from a bird's eye view. Now, there isn't much information about this online to confirm it, and the layout doesn't really make a lot of practical sense, but it's a very interesting and kinda cute detail. 12th, Sydney 2000. Quick! Think of an animal which best fits Australia. Got it? Good. Now throw that animal out of the window and replace them with Sid, the duck-billed platypus, Ollie, the kookaburra, and Millie, the echidna, or spiny anteater, but echidnas are way cooler. So, these guys are probably the most random and yet understandable mascots. At the end of the day, they represent Australia and the Olympics, especially with their names. Ollie for the Olympics, Millie for the Millennium, and Sid for Sydney. But I don't know, were they really the best options? Anyways, shout out to our beloved could-have-been mascot, Fatso the Fat Arse Wombat. I truly wish I was joking. 11th, Lake Placid, 1980. This is Roni the raccoon. Roni's name originates from raccoon in Iroquoian, an indigenous language of the indigenous people in the region of the state of New York and Lake Placid. Once again, I think it's really cool they're incorporating the indigenous people into these games, and there's an even better example of that later on this list, but I'll get there eventually. Roni's facial features and black and white coloring are a reference to the sunglasses and hats which are worn by some competitors, and apparently on some forms of Roni, all 5 Olympic ring colors can be seen on him, which is pretty cool. 10th, Beijing 2008. Tired of trios? Well, how about a group of 5? Meet Beibei, Jingjing, Huanhuan, Yingying, and Nini. Their names derive from the saying, "Welcome to Beijing," or in Chinese, Beijing Hongying Ni. So I guess their names in English would kind of be like, well, come to Beibei Jingjing? I don't know, I don't speak Chinese. They each represent an Olympic ring and all have a natural element that they correspond to as well. Beibei is a fish representing water, Jingjing's a panda and represents the forest, Yingying is a Tibetan antelope and represents earth, Nini is a swallow and represents the sky, and Huanhuan is a child of fire and represents fire. Overall, these guys have a big story with them, and I really like that. Although, one thing I must mention, the artist behind them, Han Mei-lin, had to make over 1,000 different designs before the committee settled on these 5. Wow. 9th, Sarajevo, 1984. This is Vuko and he is a wolf. Why? Because wolves are one of the animals typically found in the forests of the Dinaric Alps region. Not much else behind him really, and I think that's okay. His artist tried to give Vuko a nicer appeal to try and change the idea that wolves are ferocious, and I think that's a pretty cool thing. Ultimately, I think this design just falls a bit flat because it doesn't have much charm as the other ones. 8th, Salt Lake City, 2002. These bundles of joy are powder, coal, and copper. I know their names may be a little bit unoriginal or boring, but don't count them out. Their names come from the snow in Utah, the resources of the area, and the land. Each animal represents one of the words from the Olympic motto, faster, higher, stronger. Each of them has a necklace, which features their animal in the form of a petroglyph, which is a rock engraving, in the style of the Anasazes or the Fremonts, ancient people from the region. If I'm being completely honest, I think this point marks the beginning of no bad designs. 7th, Pyeongchang 2018. Oh my goodness, I was not kidding when I said that there may not be any bad designs. It feels so hard to rank this, but I'm afraid 7th place has to go to Suarang from the 2018 Winter Games. Suarang is a white tiger, which has been considered Korea's guardian animal for a long time, and overall they're just really super cute. I just felt like it was a bit on the boring side compared to the ones upcoming. 6. Seoul 1988. Another Korean mascot back to back? They sure know what they're doing. The Summer Games in Seoul have this cute tiger named Dori. The ho comes from the Korean word for tiger, and Dori is a common masculine diminutive. How is Hodori better than Suarang? Well, for starters, they have a hat, and the ribbon on the hat is in the shape of an S for Seoul, which is such a nice touch. What's also cool is that the designer for Hodori made a female version of Hodori named Suni, which is the Korean word for girl, for the Asian Games in 1986. Also, an even more interesting fact is that this mascot got some animations made for it, although one was a bit more morbid. There was a recent bombing in 1987, and if I'm depicting this correctly, it's supposed to be somewhat of an informative video to be on the lookout for any suspicious characters and luggage.
30억 아시아인의 축제. 모든 일이 순조롭게 진행되고 있습니다. 이제 남은 일은 잘 지키는 일입니다. 우리가 할 일은 선수들의 안전, 경기장의 안전, 시설물의 안전, 그리고 우리 모두의 안전을 위한 일입니다. 앞장서 질서를 지키고 우리 주위에 위험한 것이 없나 살피는 마음. 우리 모두가 안전요원이어야겠습니다.
5th, Tokyo 2020. These 5 are some of the best, and quite frankly, it's been so hard to rank this. This very easily could have been 6, but I think that this one is more modern, which is why I liked it, but I don't know. This is Mirai Tawa, a futuristic robot. His name represents Mirai, which stands for future, and Toa, which stands for eternity. His design aims to capture the old and the new. Like many others, this mascot won via a voting competition, this one from the children. Anyone over 18 could submit a design, and then after narrowing it down, the final 3 groups were voted on. Now, while many people prefer the other mascots, and I kinda like them too, I think the reason Mirai Toa won was because he just casually has teleportation powers? I think that's banned in most sports. 4th, Los Angeles, 1984. The 1984 games were probably one of the best games, in the sense that it turned around the Olympics. You see, nearing the 1984 games, many countries didn't want to bid. In fact, Los Angeles was the only bidder for the 1984 games, and through their smart idea to reuse venues and stadiums, the games were a huge success. Getting back on track, the 1984 games also had an amazingly cute and very American mascot, Sam the Eagle. One look at this guy and you can just tell it's American. Sam's cute and friendly design was done so as to not frighten children and to embody the optimism of the Olympic spirit. Take note, other countries. His cute design may also be because his designer was Walt Disney Productions designer Robert C. Moore. And say it with me, folks, this Olympic mascot got an animated series. There really are a lot, huh? This series had Sam as a detective, using the Olympic rings on his hat to get out of tricky situations. Overall, this is just a really cute design. Look at the walk-around costume. Sam, while you may be 4th, just know that you are deeply loved by me and many others. 3rd, Moscow 1980. Sadly, Sam's popularity could never match Misha from the 1980 Moscow Games, or going by their full legal name, I'm not even trying to read that. Misha is a type of bear very familiar in Russia. With his unique striped belt, Misha left a mark on the people. What I love most about Misha is that you can really feel Misha as a character. Misha loved the Olympics, and there's a really sad but also cute moment which just shows this perfectly. In the closing ceremony of the games, using those audience tile flipper thingies, they made Misha, and by the end of the ceremony, Misha shed a single tear because they were sad the games were over. Seriously, what better character can you get? Misha also got released into the sky via a balloon, and also, unsurprisingly, got an anime. At this point, I'm starting to get disappointed if they don't have an animated series. Second, Vancouver 2010. So, remember when I said I had no Canadian bias? I might have to retract that comment. Vancouver 2010, the third and as of right now, final time Canada has hosted the Olympics. And what better way to represent our country than taking inspiration from the indigenous people? I've said this before, but I just really love it when the Olympic Games do this, and Vancouver might just be my favorite example. Quachi and Mika aren't your typical animals. Quachi is a Sasquatch, a popular character from local legends which live in forests. Mika is a sea bear, part killer whale, part Coyote bear. The Coyote bear, or spirit bear, lives only in British Columbia. Want to know an interesting fun fact? Their design might remind you a little of a certain animated kids show, the Octonauts. Are you seeing it right now? That's right, Miami Designs, the designers of Octonauts, designed the Vancouver 2010 mascots as well. Just wow. Something even more interesting is that these games had a character who followed our cast around, despite not being an actual mascot. This is Muck Muck, who's designed based off of a rare and threatened type of marmot which lives only on a Vancouver island. His name is taken from Muckamuck, meaning food in Chinook. If I'm not mistaken, Muck Muck swam all the way from said Vancouver Islands just to meet up with his friends. This trio is an iconic and lovable friend group, which was also very marketable, and they are my favorite Winter Olympic mascots. And finally, the best Olympic mascot, Rio 2016. Despite the controversy around these games, their mascot design was peak. This yellow bundle of ecstatic energy is Vinicius, whose name actually comes from Brazilian poet and lyricist Vinicius de Moraes. His species, if you will, is actually quite unique, being a mashup of all of Brazil's animals. His design takes inspiration from pop culture, video games, and animation. The reason I put him on the top is because I feel he meets all the requirements just perfectly. He represents Brazil in a simple but effective manner, alongside it not being too obvious in your face. He's cute and marketable, even getting an animated series, and I just love his playfulness. Hey, Editing PJ here. Guess who used an outdated tier list and forgot about the newest mascots? Me. So I've already written and recorded the script, and I really don't want to fix all of this, so here you go. Beijing 2022. This is Bing Duen Duen. He is a panda who is covered in a shield of ice, which makes sense as one of the meanings of Bing is ice. His shield of ice resembles an astronaut suit, which tributes embracing the future technology. I give Bing Duen Duen A tier. Paris 2024. If you were on TikTok at all last year, you most likely saw this guy somewhere. This is Fridge, which is a Phrygian cap from French history during the Revolution, being a symbol of freedom. I won't dive too deeply into Fridge, as it's kind of self-explanatory, but I do like the symbolism. They're not my favorite design-wise, but story and representation-wise, this really makes up for it. Also, look at this guy. He's just a silly little guy. A tier for you. Milano Cortina 2026. Okay, so technically these games haven't happened yet, but as of writing and recording, they're just shy of about a year away, starting in February 2026. And last year, they revealed the mascots, Milo and Tina. I could say so much about these guys. They are adorable. Tina, the name coming from Cortina, is a stoat, and this is a sibling of Milo, the Paralympic mascot. Now, these guys don't have much story or background, but I think their design massively makes up for it. These guys are a solid S tier. So that was every Olympic mascot, and oh boy, are there plenty. Thanks for watching. This was a blast looking into every single mascot individually, although most of these mascots have a counterpart for the Paralympics. Looks like my job isn't done quite yet. But for now, that's all from me. See you next time.